Well, we flipped this seat in 2020, and we've worked really hard to put the Low Country first. I grew up here, I'm from here, raising my family here, and love serving the Low Country. This has been the honor of my lifetime. Right, I was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. A lot of people know my story because I dropped out of school when I was 17 and took a job on College Park Road at a Waffle House, and I learned the value of hard work there. And I don't take a single day for granted, which is why serving the Low Country is just so important to me. I work for our veterans. I serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee. I do a lot of defense work because I sit on the House Armed Services Committee, do a lot of investigations on oversight. I chair a cybersecurity committee and work on that. But I've worked really hard. Most recently, I saved 1,000 jobs right here in the Low Country a few weeks ago, and we work with our state and local government agencies to provide infrastructure support. We're a growing district. We're the 10th fastest growing district in the nation. We need a lot of help with our infrastructure, but also when it comes to illegal immigration or spending and inflation or women's issues, we've been leading on a lot of the issues that are the forefront of Low Country voters. Well, number one, I listen to voters. Their number one issue is immigration and the border. We just had an infant that was killed by an illegal alien last week in Bluffton. There was Maddie Hines last year in South Carolina, also killed by an illegal alien. We've had MS-13 gang members arrested here in the Low Country, human trafficking, sex trafficking. The border and immigration is the number one issue. This week, the Judiciary Committee with Jim Jordan are going to pass out my bill, the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. That will come out of committee this week and go to the floor for a full House vote at some point in the near future. Inflation and spending is another one. I'm the author of the Penny Plan, which is a plan to balance the budget in 5 years. It's difficult to do that right now in post-COVID dollars and post-COVID spending that Republicans and Democrats alike. They put $35 trillion of debt onto the backs of our nation's future, our kids and our grandkids, and we've got to put a stop to that. Women's issues are another one that are really important to me as a suburban woman, a suburban mom, making sure that we're finding that common ground as we move forward. My opponent, Catherine Templeton, has lied about just about everything on her resume. I told voters in the Low Country, we may not agree on every issue or every vote, but I'm going to tell you the truth. My opponent lied about when she said she brought Boeing to South Carolina. Boeing came to South Carolina long before my opponent ever worked in South Carolina government. My opponent said that she wrote the toughest immigration bill in South Carolina history. Well, actually, she's talking about a bill that was written by somebody else, Senator Larry Grooms. Senator Larry Grooms acknowledged he wrote the bill that she's talking about and endorsed us in our campaign just a few weeks ago. You cannot trust anything that my opponent says because everything on her resume is a lie. She's even attacking me for not voting for a bill last year. I had COVID-19 and a blood oxygen level of less than 90. No, I didn't vote that day, that particular day, because I was quite under the weather. This week we are talking about tuberculosis. It was a disease that should be taken seriously. I was diagnosed with exposure to TB when I was a kid. Come to find out, my opponent, Catherine Templeton, ignored the results of kids who were tested with exposure to tuberculosis a number of years ago. She put our kids' lives at risk. And as someone who's personally been affected by exposure to TB, this is something that that should have been taken seriously. My opponent has cost millions of dollars to South Carolina taxpayers because of her reckless behavior in South Carolina government. She's been sued time after time after time again, fired from nearly every job she's ever had, including the South Carolina Ports Authority, where they said that her work was detrimental to the port. This is not a leader. This is not someone with integrity. The Low Country doesn't want someone who's going to lie about everything they do or everything on their resume. And at the end of the day, it is cut and dry. It is black and white. We are two very different people. I'm honest, I'm truthful. We may not always agree, but I will not lie to Low Country voters. Well, let's start with the fact that my opponent is on record opposing all exceptions, even for the life of the mother. If a young woman had an ectopic pregnancy and was going to die, my opponent was on record supporting the death of that young mother. I am someone who is pro-life, but I've also worked to find protections for women who've been raped, girls who are victims of incest, women whose lives are in danger due to their pregnancy. That is something that Low Country voters support. And whether we can find consensus on the federal level or leave it up to the states, right now it's up to the states. And Donald Trump has the right record and the right position on this, and I support him. It's up to the states right now. It would be great to find consensus. Most people, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, want limitations. What Joe Biden or Kamala Harris won't do is they won't tell you their limitations because they have none. And it's really important that we have someone who understands the nuances and respects women and respects life, and we're that candidate. I've signed every term limit pledge known to man. I don't think that being in government for a lifetime should be a thing. We also should term limit the staff within our government, because a lot of times these bureaucrats or secretaries or people who are appointed or even staff, they think they rule everything. I have seen it. In fact, I fired a good chunk of my staff in DC because of their behavior, because of the swamp, because of the unethical things that I have seen. And so when you look at it from that perspective, a lot of people need to be term limited, not just bureaucrats, not just elected officials, but even staff. We got to clean house sometimes, and the federal government ought to be able to do that.
Same thing, kind of similar realm, but cognitive tests as well, especially, I don't know if that coincides with the term limits, mind you, but thoughts on like a cognitive level test, if that even needs to be a thing?
Well, when you're Joe Biden, it absolutely needs to be a thing. The guy can't string two words together to make a sentence. I'm looking forward to the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It'll be a very big difference to see whose mental acuity is all there and whose is not. I voted to certify the Electoral College in 2020. Immigration and spending are the top two issues that concern voters. In years past, women's issues have also been important, but more recently, what we have heard from voters every single day right now is they want someone who's going to be honest and tell the truth. My opponent lies every single day. She's lied about her resume, she's lied about her record, she's lied about Boeing, she's lied about immigration, she's lied about every single thing and every single ad she's ever had, and voters want the truth, and we're giving the truth. I support our Jewish community, and I support aid to Israel. We have one of the most historic Jewish communities in the nation. One of the first synagogues ever built was built right here in the Low Country. When Hamas invaded Israel, we helped rescue and evacuate over 20 Low Country residents who were stranded in Israel. We got them to Tel Aviv, and were able to get them to Jordan and get flights out when the State Department abandoned them. And I have supported Israel and aid to Israel every step of the way. It's really important that we support our allies, and I want folks in our Jewish community to know that no one will work harder to protect them. When Joe Biden has abandoned them on their college campuses and Jewish students can't go to class, I'm there for them, supporting them each and every step of the way, and we've done that. We've helped save people in Israel. We've helped protect Jewish students here at home. I mean, we're doing everything we can to make sure that they feel safe and protected, because this is not 1944 Nazi Germany, and we're not going to tolerate bigotry. We're not going to tolerate racism. We're not going to tolerate the intolerant left who is acting with violence on college campuses all across the country because they support Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and all these terrorist organizations. Well, I want voters to know that serving the Low Country is the honor of my lifetime. We work extremely hard. I work 7 days a week. I'm up to midnight every night, up at 5 a.m., eating, breathing, and sleeping South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. We saved 1,000 jobs recently. We work on infrastructure projects. We work on grant funding for projects back here in the Low Country, hundreds of millions of dollars authorized and appropriated for the district. And when you call us, we're going to be there to help you regardless. And we work really hard. We love the Low Country, and we love working hard for the Low Country. We're the only candidate endorsed by Donald Trump, and everything my opponent has said about immigration and the border is a lie. I voted for over 900 miles of border wall last year in H.R. 2. I voted for the Secure the Border Act. I voted for appropriations or spending for the border. We had another border bill with the foreign aid a couple weeks ago. I voted for that. I have voted, sponsored or co-sponsored over 60 bills related to immigration, illegal immigration, and the border since I've come to Congress. My opponent, on the other hand, she cut immigration enforcement by 85%. The agents that she fired, she cut the budget for immigration enforcement in South Carolina from $2 million almost down to $0. She even apologized for calling illegals illegal aliens on the same day that Joe Biden did. My opponent is a Democrat, is really truly a Democrat. She voted in the 2020 presidential Democrat election. She voted for the Democrat governor in 2010. I'm not going to lie to voters. I have worked really hard to stem the tide of illegal immigration in the bills that I've written, the bills that I've co-sponsored, the bills I've voted for, and I'm not going to let Catherine Templeton lie about my record.